Hi everyone, it's Ramzi. In this video, I'm going to show you how to ramp up your agency delivery in ClickUp by setting up the right systems. I'm going to talk to you about 3 pillars that make a very solid agency system in ClickUp, and we're going to set them up together. By the end of this video, if you've set up that system in your ClickUp workspace, you'll easily be able to ramp up your productivity to 10, 20, 30% for your agency, and you won't even have to hire more people. Stay till the end and make sure you follow along each step, because I've battle tested this whole system and it's definitely going to change the way you work together in ClickUp. Now, the first thing I want to talk to you about is 3 items that make a solid agency. And I've talked about this in my previous video on how to structure your ClickUp workspace for your agency. But basically, just to summarize, your agency is built upon 3 items: your growth, your delivery, and your admin. Let's start with admin. It's the base, it's the layer, it's what you need for your agency to strive and survive. It's the finance, the HR, everything that makes the agency work, everything that makes the company work together, which means hiring more people, which means making sure that your finance is compliant and everything else. These spaces are essential in your ClickUp. Next, there's the growth. It's about how your agency can get bigger, how it can touch the sky, how it can reach 7, 8, 9 figures. It's about marketing, it's about sales, and finally, we're going to talk about delivery. And that's the purpose of this video. It's to focus on this aspect, how to productize, how to systemize your agency so that you make it a delivery machine. And your delivery is built upon 4 pillars, according to me and my experience and what I've seen on client workspaces. We're going to talk about these 4 pillars right now. If you get in the agency structure right here, it basically summarizes what I've just told you. And if you focus on these 4 pillars, it's about your documentation, your templates, and dependencies. Now, the working in batches, it's not something we're going to tackle in this video. We'll talk about it in the next video because it's more about how to operate your agency. These 3 first are about how to systemize your agency, and the next one is about how to operate it. Think of ClickUp as an operating system. When you set up ClickUp, or when a consultant sets up ClickUp for you, their goal is to create a solid system. It's to create the most efficient system possible for your operations. But next, you have to operate it. You have to understand how to use it day to day. And if the system is great, but the operations are crap, it's not going to work. The same way around, if the operations are great, but the system is not good, it's not going to work either. So you need to start by building a solid system first. I'm going to show you that in this video. We're going to talk about documentation, templates, and dependencies. Now let's have a look at how it will look like in ClickUp. To get down here, as you can see, I've put a screenshot of what documentation is in ClickUp. It's basically having a ClickUp docs that centralizes your wiki. It's your company wiki, it's your knowledge base, it's your SOPs, your design system, your client design system, all the information you need to work properly, and it should be considered a single source of truth. We'll talk about that later. And next we'll talk about templates. Templates are about how you can make sure that you create a set of tasks that work together so that you don't have to recreate them each time you start with a new client. This is about making sure that you build your template once and you can use it forever. It's just about creating that first layer and doing 80 or 90% of the project planning in one go just with a template. Next, we'll talk about dependencies, and dependencies is basically how can I connect my tasks together so that if one task moves over time, it affects what comes after. So it's about creating a roadmap that is modular over time, because it happens very often that you're just started a project, one of the steps takes some more time, so the rest of the project needs to be rescheduled accordingly. So dependencies allow for that, and I'm going to show you that right in ClickUp. And the final one is about the batching method. It's about what we've talked about creating batches, groups of tasks to handle week per week over time that will allow you for easier project and capacity planning, and it will let you easily know if you went overboard with what you have to do with your team or if you still have some more capacity for them to handle more tasks. It's just for you to understand that your agency delivery is built upon these 4 pillars, and these 4 pillars are essential. One cannot work without the other. You need the documentation, you need templates, you need dependencies, and you need batches. Now, let's start with documents. Documentation is mainly about creating a single source of truth in your workspace. I recommend you to use as little ClickUp docs as possible. Always try to use very few ClickUp docs and group them together through pages. All you need is one single company wiki in which you're going to hold static information as well as dynamic information, and you're going to order this wiki from the most static, the most important solid information to the most fluid, the most dynamic information. It's going to be about having a knowledge base, some request hub where you can have request forms, some brand assets, some onboarding, software access, SOPs, everything that's at company level. And then you're going to create team wikis where you're going to store everything related to your team. So you're going to have one wiki for marketing, one for sales, one for delivery, for example, and you're going to store everything related to these teams. So resources, onboarding, SOPs, meeting notes. You want to split up these team wikis from the main one, especially for security and permissions, because you don't necessarily want marketing to see the delivery process, or you don't want sales to see the marketing process. If you're a smaller agency, transparency is key and it's totally normal. You can keep everything open. But if you start to grow bigger, maybe you need to keep that information in each team. I'll show you how to create a company wiki in ClickUp as well as a team wiki. Now let's get into ClickUp and go into our agency delivery space. We get right here. As you can see, we have a space called delivery, and that's where we're going to store everything. But mainly just know that I've structured it with 3 folders, one for ongoing projects, one for closed projects, one where we're going to store the templates we're going to talk about right now, and one for the contractors. I've split up the contractors because there's a feature in ClickUp called tasks in multiple lists, and you can basically add a task from one of the client to one of the design or tech list and give access only to that list to contractors so that they don't see the whole client project. And that's a very powerful feature for working with contractors. And I'm going to go into my everything level right here and import the template I've already created. I'll just use this template, add it to my workspace, and just click use. It should pop up. Now, I've created this document for all the clients for which I set up ClickUp, so they all have a knowledge base that's using the best practices. It includes a knowledge base as well as a list for systems and tools. Down there, you have a request hub where you can have IT support requests, security requests, HR, etc., so that you can quickly link to the ClickUp forms for each of these teams. There's an intake form system for each department, basically. And then there's useful links, FAQ. There's a page for systems and tools with templates on how to create SOPs for each tool. Then we have an onboarding sequence with a welcome, code of conduct, benefits, company holidays, paid time, travel, etc. You also have a page with brand assets to store, news updates, newsletters, as well as templates for each department with SOPs, with resources, with one-on-one meeting templates. You have a ClickUp setup onboarding sequence as well, so that each time someone joins your company, they know exactly how to use ClickUp, and each time you will have a video, and it also has some written SOP. And I actually recommend you each time you make an SOP for your company to use this method. So record yourself with software like Loom or something like that, and then you can easily transcribe that video that you did and turn it into an SOP and copy and paste it right here. Because some people have a visual memory and will love to have a video, and some people just want to quickly read through the written content and try and practice it themselves. So at least this way you have 2 types of trainings and 2 types of materials. Now that's what I set up for my clients, but if you want to get it yourself, you can just download ClickUp Master. The link is in the description. It's a full training on ClickUp. It will take you from an intermediate to an advanced ClickUp users. It will definitely ramp up your project delivery because you will understand the software and set it up much better. On top of that, you'll have access to documents like this one. You'll have access to templates, to SOPs, to a lot of pre-built things, and it's also updated very frequently. So even this document, this client wiki template, it will be updated, so you might have an even better version by then. If you're interested in doing consulting, we can go through a discovery call and I'll get to understand your agency and how you guys work together, and we'll make sure that we create an optimized ClickUp workspace for you. Now I've created this company wiki. Let's say we fill it in, and I'm gonna take this department template right here and I'm gonna move it to the delivery department. So all I have to do is go into the delivery space right here and add a view. This one is gonna be a doc view and I'll call it wiki. I'll just duplicate it and I'll call it delivery wiki. I'll just move it to the wiki I've just created. So just right click and move it to the right document. And if we get back right here, our delivery wiki is ready to go. We have templates for how to store our processes, our resources, our meetings for our delivery team. We also have the mission, meet the team, current teams, objectives, OKRs, and everything. You can set it up the way you want. Basically, to summarize, you have a wiki for your company, a wiki for your delivery team, and we could also copy and paste this, add it to the sales page, for example. That way we'll have a documentation for sales as well. Back here, as I told you, you have one main company wiki, which is the one I've shown you, and a team wiki per team. You might have sales, you might have delivery, you might have marketing, and add as many wikis as you want. Now back to ClickUp, we have our processes right here. If we want to, we can start creating SOPs. We can just copy and paste this SOP template and say we have an SOP for SEO website optimization for a client. We're just going to fill that in and create an SOP for this. You can actually ask AI to generate your SOP. Obviously, it will not fit with what you want necessarily, but ClickUp offers for very powerful AI features. So if you customize it and you prompt it properly, you might have a starting point for your SOP. Although I recommend you to add your own processes and your own knowledge and expertise to this SOP and refine it and fine tune it. But for now, we're going to use this AI generated one and assume it's our agency, our web design agency, SEO website optimization SOP. So let's insert it into our doc. We have it right here. And this way, each time we're talking about SEO website optimization, we can refer to this document. We can update it as we want to. We can add a video, we can add some more content, we can add some images. So make sure that your SOPs are as user-friendly as possible, because it takes a lot of time to write down your processes. But trust me, if they're properly documented, it will save you headaches from having to retrain each team member. Each time someone asks you a question about a process, you can go in the bottom right here and add it as an FAQ. That way, each time someone asks you the same question, you can just refer them to that process and tell them, hey, go have a look at the FAQ. We've already been talking about this and how to handle it specifically for that case. Spend time on your SOPs, please. It's quite important. There's another video on how to write down your SOPs, but on this one, it's just to let you know that you can store your SOPs here as ClickUp pages. Now we've seen how we can create a company knowledge base, a department or team knowledge base. We're going to move on to the next step. And the next pillar that we want to talk about is templates. Now, templates are a way to create a model, to create a reference of how a project should be handled step by step for your client. As an agency, you really want to create your template for your product, because this template will let you in the future save a lot of time from project planning. Now, before we do that, we're going to talk about a big debate into building your ClickUp delivery structure. A lot of ClickUp consultants, experts, and even yourself from your experience want to build a folder per client in that delivery space. Now, as you've seen, I've decided to create a list per client and not a folder. And there's a big reason why. When you create projects as lists into your client folders, the upside is that you're going to have better context. You're going to have a list per project. It's going to be clear which projects you're working on, and you're going to have a better overview. And what I love even more is that ClickUp allows for remapping a list when you use it as a template, so that each time you start a new project, everything will be rescheduled. The problem with this method, according to me, is that it makes the user experience and the user navigation very complex. Because imagine you have 10 clients and you have 2 to 3 projects per client. That means you're going to have about 30 lists. That's huge. It's going to really clutter your ClickUp hierarchy and your navigation on the left side. You're going to have to navigate so many little folders right here with so many lists. I really recommend going with projects as tasks. Because let's be real, when you're an agency, very often your projects are 10, 20, 30 tasks. You can easily, in those tasks, add second level subtasks and third level subtasks. You can go with 1, 2, 3, 4 levels of subtasks. So you could have your project name as the main task. You could have your deliverables or your products as milestones, as second level. And then for each deliverable, you can have substeps and second level substeps. Basically, this means that you can have a list that stores all of your client projects And that way it will be much clearer, much easier to navigate, because you're going to be able to collapse your subtasks. You're going to be able to see a lot of projects in one screen. You're going to be able to use a automated progress custom field and see that one part of the project is, say, at 60%, the other at 40%, which is not something you can do with projects as lists. So that's why I love having a simple hierarchy with one client equal one list, and you will add all your projects for that client as tasks. Now, to build that template, to build that system for our client delivery, we're gonna talk about the concept of the tree, or the theory of the tree. So the way I see setting up a template in ClickUp is kind of like building a tree. You're gonna think of your trunk, what never changes, what's the main thing for your projects, everything that's common to all your projects. Very often it's gonna be your client onboarding and your client offboarding, for example. And then you're gonna have products. Products are variables that might change as you sell your product, as you upsell it, as you downsell it, as you add an extra add-on to your client. These are items that are going to be added either in the beginning of the project or through the project. What you really want to do is create one template for your main project and as many templates for products. And I'm going to show you how I've designed this right in ClickUp. So if we get back to ClickUp right here, we're going to go into our web agency client list right here. Now, this list stores all my templates. I've already built them, but I'm going to show you how to create some extra ones. Now, we are a web agency. We sell a few products. We sell SEO, we sell analytics, website design, just the mockups, or just a client branding. These are products we sell. We're going to create task templates for each of these projects. And we have one main holder, which is our project template. This is what nests our main project. This is our web agency project main task. And basically in this task, we have an onboarding. That's what we always do for a client. And we have an offboarding. That's what we always do for a client as well. Now, if I wanted to add an extra product, say that sometimes we sell website migration, I'm going to add a new task and call it website migration right here. And I'm going to turn it into a milestone. I want to do that for each of these products just to have a better visibility on what's a product versus what's a task. I like to get back here and say task type and say milestone. And from there, we're going to create the subtasks that make this website migration project actionable and that will allow us to reach the end. So if we open that up, we're going to add our subtasks right here. I've actually added them with AI and you can try to do that, but I recommend you to create your own project subtasks and to follow your own method, your own process. Now, if it's still unclear what your subtasks are, what your process is like, how you should design your templates, you can book a discovery call with me and we'll make sure that we build an optimized system for your agency in ClickUp. Let's create these subtasks, and next what we have to do right here, if we open it up, is to add a few items that we have on our other products. As you can see right here, we have start dates, we have due dates, we have dependencies. These little triangles means that we have dependencies and we'll talk about it right after. We need to add all of this information into our website migration template. The best way to add these items is to use the Gantt view that's right here. The Gantt view is a way that's going to let you visually see your project progress. If we open up that Gantt view, as you can see, we have a very complex project roadmap that basically includes all of my tasks as well as subtasks and second level subtasks if we open it up. So we have, for example, for the branding concept, we have the logo, color palette, photography, mockup. Potentially, we could even add some dependencies on those tasks as well. The idea is that for each level of subtask, you're going to connect it to the first subtask of the level below to create the dependencies. Here, the branding concept, for example, it needs to be connected to the logo, and the logo needs to be connected to the color palette and the typography and the mockups. But you need to make sure that each of those are connected together. Now we've created all of our dependencies. The last one that's missing is our website migration. So when we sell a website migration, it usually takes, let's say, 2 weeks. So I can add this right here. And I could potentially add a start date. So I could say this is starting on Monday 29th and finishes on the 9th. Now, all of these setup, all these start and end dates, they're dynamic. You just have to find a starting point, say first week of July, and from there you just start to create your roadmap. let's say your website migration takes 2 weeks. And from there, we're gonna schedule our subtasks. If you want to zoom a little further, you can use the weekday timescale. And that way you can even schedule it day by day. You can make some of the tasks take longer time right here. And again, the rule is to take the parent task and connect it to the first one of the levels below. A lot of connections that you have to create, but each time you create those dependencies between the main task and the levels below, it will let you automatically reschedule your project roadmap. We've connected those, and next we can go to the website migration and connect it to the levels below. And we're going to connect the subtasks to each other so that we have a dependency waterfall as well. Think of it as a waterfall. Each time you have a main task, it ripples down to the levels below through dependencies. You can go up to 4, 5, 6 levels. I recommend you to stick at 3 to 4 levels maximum, otherwise it starts to be hard to handle. We do have our project planned. To summarize, if we get back into our list view, we have our main project, the web agency project. We have the products that we're selling. We're selling SEO, analytics, website design, mockups, client branding, migration, all these products. And it has start dates, end dates, dependencies between each other, so we're good to go. Now, before we save those templates, I want to show you how you can create SOPs and save them into this template for future use. There are 2 ways to create SOPs. The first way is to open up a task and add an SOP as a comment. So that way, each time this task is triggered, it will have this comment on how to do analytics. So for example, I've asked ClickUp to create an SOP on how to install analytics for my client. And that way, each time I hire someone new or even an intern, if they have the knowledge and if they know how to read an SOP, they should be able to do it themselves. You can even add a video in the comment section and use that area as a way to store your SOPs. This is interesting, but I see one flaw. The flaw is that each time you're working with a client, you need to make sure that this SOP has been updated. And the problem is that for current clients, if this SOP changes, it will not reapply to their tasks. So you're gonna have this SOP stored right here as a comment, and that's looking great. There's a much better way to do it, and we're gonna close this task so that I can show you. Here we have our SEO task. And if you remember, I've just created an SOP on how to do SEO for a client in my company documentation, in my delivery team wiki. I'll just click 3 times add, and this is a shortcut to call out any document stored in ClickUp. I can just select this SEO website documentation document, and I can just say read process first. I could do that in bold or in red if I wanted to. I can make it important, just turn it into a banner. I can just turn it into a heading if I want to, make it really big, so you can really stylize it the way you want to make it big, to make it readable. So read the process first, SEO website optimization. And the thing is that this comment will be triggered on every new client. But if we update this SOP, if we were to change it, it will just be called out by the template. So it will be up to date each time we do this for a client. And that's the power of centralizing all your SOPs in a single document. So I recommend you doing that. Store your SOPs into documents and call them out through the comment section. Now, all that's left is to take all of these tasks and to save them as templates. We're going to get into our main task, go into templates and save as template. I will just call this one web project and save it. Next, call this one web SEO. I'll click save. I'll call this one web analytics. I'll click save again. And finally, this one is going to be templates, save as template, web and design, save. So we have saved our templates. If we go into our template center right here, you can also search for it. And if we search for the templates called web, we have quite a lot in our tasks. We have the design, the project, the SEO, the analytics. So it just really shows you the power of how you can systemize your ClickUp roadmap. Now we're going to get into the space level. And from there, we're going to go into automations and create our automation. The first automation we want is to trigger our project main task for each task created. When a task is created, we want to trigger our template. We're going to search for that template and apply it. I'll use it and I'll click create. As you can see, we start to have quite a lot of automation. So I always recommend to name your automations. You can name this one, for example, project templates. And I'm going to add a new one. And this one is going to trigger one of my products. Let's start with the web design product. So what I'll say is that when I add a tag on the main task and the tag is called website, then please create a subtask called web design and select the template called web design. So I'll apply this template. What I can also say is please put the start date to 1 day after trigger date and the end date to 30 days after the trigger date. That way, as we start the project, we'll dynamically reschedule our whole project. So say we start this project in 2026, everything will start from 2026. It will not be back in 2024. We can just reschedule it automatically through this automation. I actually can name this automation before I save it and call it design product trigger. I'll click create. And from there, I can just duplicate it and I can do the same for the different products. I could add one for the SEO type of product and call it SEO. And this time I'll trigger a different template, the one called SEO. Let's find it. It's this one. I'll just use it and click duplicate. So I'll just do these two examples, but as you can imagine, you can do the exact same automations for every single product that we create. So we have our project template, our design product trigger, and our SEO product trigger. And let's try this one out. Say we have a project to do for our client, Monster Incorporated. They want a website. So we're going to start our project. Let's say it's a 2024 project, and we want to start working with them. And as you can see, our task has been created. It has the main task for onboarding, for offboarding, all the subtasks below, and we're good to go. Now, say we started the onboarding with a client and we know what we have to do. We just have to do web design for now. So I'll just add the website tag. And if I open up my task, the automation will have created the web design product. So we will have the whole roadmap for our web design project right here. With the design system, the project framework, the subtasks, if there's any, everything will be set up. But say we start moving forward on the project and the client tells us we also want to do some SEO optimization. We're just going to call out our tag called SEO right here. We just trigger that tag and that lets us create a product called SEO. Same way, I open up my task and that SEO subtask should pop up. As you can see, it's been created. We have our SEO task right here. And if I open it up, it has all the subtasks we need. And it even has the start dates, the due dates that we need. Potentially, we could assign it to the right people, start assigning everything. Say I'm the project manager for each milestone, but then I'm going to outsource, or I'm just going to reassign the SEO to Diane, and I'll just reassign the tasks for web design to Lucas. And I can already start planning my project in a few clicks. We have our start date, our due date, our assignee, everything's been prepared, and ClickUp has just fetched everything from our template. Now, if we create a Gantt view right here, what's amazing is that ClickUp will also have created the roadmap for our project right here. So we will have our project roadmap appearing right here, and all we have to do is to reorganize it a little bit and to create the dependencies so that each task goes one after another. So say we start with onboarding, then we'll just move the web design right here. We'll just move the SEO right there. And I'll just make this a little bit shorter, reorganize my project roadmap a little bit. So that's just a few settings to change. And you just have to customize it in a few clicks for that client. And from there, you're good to go. I'm just going to bring my offboarding to the bottom so that it looks a little bit nicer. And we have basically our whole project roadmap. It only took me maybe 2-3 minutes to plan it. Whereas if I did everything manually, it would probably have taken me hours and hours of setting everything up. Now, if we open up the SEO task we've been talking about before, what's great is that it just called out the comment with a read process first. Everything that was in my template was brought up. So you can imagine that you can also add assignees, priorities, description. Anything that's static and will never change has to be saved in your template. Make sure you spend a lot of time creating your project roadmap in your template. Now, I've shown you the power of templates in ClickUp and triggered them with automations. We're going to wrap up with one last thing. It's going to be the dependencies we've just been talking about. If we get back into my diagram right here, I'm going to talk about dependencies. So what that means is that we have build client branding, and it has to be finished before design mockups is finished. Design mockups cannot be closed until client branding is closed. This is what a dependency is about, and ClickUp allows you to reschedule those accordingly. So if client branding moves, design mockups will move by the same amount of time. I've already shown you really quickly how to set this up in ClickUp. You have to connect each level of subtask to the level below, and this is basically how it works. You make sure that you create your whole roadmap and then you connect each one to the level below. I love this method of rescheduling dependencies because out of all the project software I've seen, it's probably one of the most user-friendly and one of the most efficient. It allows you to automatically reschedule everything. It adjusts the start date and due dates of every main task and all the subtasks below accordingly. It maintains consistency. You cannot forget or miss on any task if you've set up that properly in your template. And it's very, very, very useful to systemize your project and your client roadmap. Now let's get back to ClickUp. I'm going to show you how that looks. Going back into my project roadmap, you have to make sure of a few things to make sure that dependencies work. You're going to go into Customize in your Gantt view right here and go into Gantt Options and turn on Reschedule Dependencies. Next, we're going to go into your delivery settings and make sure that in your ClickUp, the remap subtask due dates, the dependency warning, and the reschedule dependencies are turned on. These will let you adjust dependencies and subtasks automatically. So once the changes are saved, you can just get back into your Gantt view. And what I love right here is that, say our web design is actually going to start a little later because we are missing some client input, some client information. We just have to move this by a few weeks, and it will also move the rest of the project accordingly. So everything else will be moved to the right date. So let's say SEO takes actually less time than we planned. All we have to do is to bring it in and move our subtasks so that it fits as well. And our project will be shrunk by the same amount of time. If we take the end date of the project the same way, everything will be moved in the back, everything is dynamic. And say this project doesn't start in July, but starts in September, we just move the whole project and everything will be moved accordingly. That's what I love about the rescheduling of dependencies. And this is the last pillar of systemizing and productizing your agency in ClickUp. Now, before we wrap this up, I want to conclude with a few points. These are the pillars I've told you about. Documentation to create a single source of truth, templates to pre-build a project roadmap, dependencies to reschedule automatically your start and due dates for each of your project milestones, and batches, which I haven't talked about and we'll talk about in the next video. Now, the reason why I've split this in two videos is that those, as I've told you, there are what I call the system. This one is the system, and we're going to highlight it in green, let's say. Documentation plus templates plus dependencies is your system. Now, obviously that includes automation and the dependencies. All of those work together, especially template. And we've seen how we can automatically trigger through ClickUp automations some parts of our template. Now, the next part is what I call the operations. And that's why ClickUp is, to me, an operating system. The system is ClickUp, but the operations is what your team does of it. Using the batch methodology, you'll understand how you can make your agency a delivery machine. And combining this system, this very solid system we've set up, with the batch methodology to work in batches and deliver faster, it's going to take you to the next level. You're probably going to bring your productivity up by 10, 20, 30% without hiring some extra workforce. I'll show you that in the next video. Until then, you can book a discovery call. You can also access my ClickUp training, ClickUp Master, where I'll talk about all of this in depth, and I give you templates for SOPs, for agency tasks, for your documentation. And I hope to see you on the next video talking about batches. Thank you and stay productive.